Kenny Veach's final message online before going missing, whilst his comment mysteriously disappeared, which most people don't know about. Another key fact is his wording, what was originally stated, his encounter with the M Cave. No one has picked up on the strange contradictions. Welcome. Whilst the Kenny Veach M Cave mystery is so deep and dark, there's a lot of uncertainty. However, one thing for sure is his language and wording when it comes to describing his hike, the cave that he found, and the location. There appears to be a lot of contradictions, which would imply, was Kenny Veach hiding the real truth from us? Was he hiding the location of the cave from us, and why? As a quick flashback, let me share with you what Kenny had to say in regard to describing the characteristics of the mysterious cave.
Hopefully I'll find it. It's shaped like a big M. It's a big cave that looks just like a gigantic M, and it's about as tall as I am and kind of narrow. And it's stuck on the side of a mountain, so I hope I can find it again. And then there's lots of little caves, but they're not the kind of cave I'm looking for. The kind of cave I'm looking for is deep, and it's dark, and it's shaped like it's shaped just like the letter M. So lots of little caves and stuff along here, and it's about level with the ground, like in an area like this. So I really got to keep my eyes peeled because I don't want to pass it. And I have not seen the funny looking little cave, but I did see a rock cairn, so somebody has been down here.
The fact that Kenny Veach couldn't make his mind up whether it was higher elevation or lower elevation is somewhat problematic, and it extends further to his original comment on YouTube when it came to his first encounter with the M Cave. The reason why all of this is important is whilst there are hikers and volunteers going out there searching, some choose and focus on a specific location, and if Kenny Veach is pointing elsewhere in a past comment, then maybe it needs to be checked out thoroughly, because you don't know what other mysteries may lay over there. He said, "This ain't nothing. I'm a long distance hiker. One time during one of my hikes out by Nellis Air Force Base, I found a hidden cave. The entrance to the cave was shaped like a perfect capital M. I always enter every cave I find, but as I began to enter this particular cave, my whole body began to vibrate. The closer I got to the cave entrance, the worse the vibrating became. Suddenly, I became very scared and hightailed out of there. That was one of the strangest things that ever happened to me." After reading that comment by Kenny Veach, it's rather eye-opening. First of all, he described the cave as hidden. Now, hidden can come in different ways. Maybe camouflaged, maybe covered up, maybe out of reach, in an unusual place, covered by shadows, in the dark, high up, low down, in a tiny little corner. It's open to interpretation there, but when you think of a hidden secret, it's buried away, it's not out in the open. A general person may not see it immediately. Could hidden mean it was some kind of portal? But Kenny didn't know, but it was open at the time for Kenny to see. Different ways of looking at it. Before we even get onto the main contradictions, I just want your thoughts on this matter down below. At any given point when watching this video, share your thoughts whether you agree or disagree. Are you shocked or not? Do you have any theories of your own, any questions or answers? Leave them down below in the comment section. It will help with spreading awareness. And before we go any further, just want to say, if you want to catch up on recent coverage by me, if you've missed out on any videos, don't worry. You'll be able to find a full playlist available top right corner where the eye symbol is up there with some loose videos attached. And if you do want to support my channel in general, in the comment section, pinned message at the top by me, there is a PayPal link and channel membership. With that being said, for Kenny Veach to come across a cave to describe that it was hidden in the first place is interesting. When Kenny Veach went back out there on his hike and the way he was describing it, it's a gigantic M. Really? If it's gigantic, is it really hidden? If it's deep and it's dark and there's vibrations, is it really hidden? These different senses which you pick up on, how it drags you in, how it catches your eye. When something is hidden, you're not expecting it. When something is hidden, normally you have to go looking for it or indirectly get up close and personal, hands-on, sieving through dirt, climbing up rocks, digging in deep and then finding something unexpected which was hidden, but it's no longer hidden. Yet when Kenny Veach went back out there, he couldn't find it. So first time round, it's hidden, you're not expecting it, maybe it's tucked away. But what was Kenny Veach doing in order to find a hidden cave? A hidden cave that's described as gigantic. It just seems like slight little contradictions here and there. So that's why I want your thoughts on the matter. What's Kenny Veach being truthful about, and what is he possibly exaggerating with? Now, hiker Jeff Clark made a key point about what Kenny was referring to in regard to a hike that he did previously and a hike that he could do later if he wasn't able to find the cave, hiking 45 miles. There appears to be a level of exaggeration, and I will have to do a separate video on that because a previous hike he described as 20 miles, by truth and fact, wasn't the case. It's actually much less. So if Kenny Veach over-exaggerates with distance and hiking to big himself up, to make it sound much better than what it actually is, could he be exaggerating the M cave as well? Exaggerating how gigantic it is, or the shaping of it, how hidden it really is? It's either hidden or it's not. You find it hidden, and then later you go back to it, you can't find it. Has it suddenly become hidden again and more secretive? What's really going on? It's so weird, his language and wording. And it gets even worse, because when you look at the rest of the text from his message, he described it as a cave near Nellis Air Force Base. Now, I know what some people are going to say. Oh, it's just a common mistake. People tend to get mixed up between Nellis Test Range, the bombing range north, adjacent to the hike route with distance apart, more on the west side with the border, yeah? People get that mixed up, the test range, bombing range of Nellis, with the Air Force Base, which is the outer skirts of Las Vegas, more east, closer towards Frenchman Mountains, Sunrise Mountains. Two different locations, but the names can be interchanged, mixed up at times, mistakes can be made. But the reality is, one location is called one thing, a different location is called another. And if you're trying to be precise, specific with your wording, and you have something to prove to people, you're going to show up. You're going to execute it professionally. If you're passionate in what you do and you take it serious, then you'll do a damn good job at it, or at least make an effort. You start mixing the language and wording up, what good does that do? Because when somebody else looks at it, word for word and how they interpret it, if you say Nellis Air Force Base and you type that in on Google Earth, it's going to take you somewhere completely different compared to where Kenny Veach actually hiked out. And yes, you could say, well, common sense suggests that maybe one got mixed up and confused. Oh, really? Is that so? Then what else did Kenny Veach get mixed up and confused about? How much misdirection has he actually caused? How much attention has he brought to a possible incorrect area and got all eyes on that area, and possibly reinforced it, backed it up with the possible disappearing act, leaving evidence out there to suggest, hey, I am out here, this is where I once was and where I may be, but elsewhere I'm doing something different. Getting all the hikers to go to one place where it might not be the spot. So it's just about looking at the language and wording for how it is upon initial first impression. And I'll show you very shortly on Google Earth satellite imagery what I'm getting at. Because Nellis Air Force Base is different to Nellis Test Range. And Kenny originally said he found the cave near to Nellis Air Force Base east of Las Vegas, yet Kenny Veach recording his hike video is north in Little Joe May Canyon, which is a huge contradiction and a huge distance between the two. And the fact that you got Frenchman's Sunrise Mountains, which have their own M-shaped caves on satellite imagery, I think that's a pretty big deal. And the fact that there have been human bones and remains and all kinds of stuff found since over that way, I think that's pretty big too, but it doesn't receive enough attention. I will be doing another video on that someday, so be sure to be on the lookout for it. But that's not the only thing with the contradictions. When Kenny Veach was describing his encounter up close with the cave, whether it's north, whether it's east, he said as he began to enter the cave. But then a bit later, he mentioned about the closer he got to the entrance before even entering, the vibrations got worse. And then suddenly he ran away. The order of that sentence structuring is a major contradiction. The way Kenny worded it was, I began to enter the cave, going inside. And then shortly afterwards saying, as I got closer to the entrance. Getting closer to the entrance implies you haven't even entered it in the first place. And ending the sentence with, or starting a new sentence with, as the vibrations got worse, I suddenly ran away. How do you go into the entrance of the cave and then after you're approaching the entrance? It should be the other way around. What Kenny Veach should have said was, as I got closer to the entrance, the vibrations got worse. As I began to enter the cave, it scared me and I ran away. Oh, is that what Kenny Veach actually meant? Well, that's not how it comes down on paper, how it was written down, how it was typed up. Kenny Veach contradicted himself. Basically, did he either go into the cave or did he not? Did he attempt to get close to it, but then he got scared because of the vibrations? You can't enter a cave and then say, as I got closer to the entrance, it got too scary, so I ran away. It can't apply in that order. Kenny's language and wording is all muddled up. And that's a genuine common theme that you see with Kenny through his hike video and even the comments online. So what can we really believe in Kenny Veach? So what you're looking at on screen is the distance between two locations of interest. On the left, the location which Kenny Veach recorded as for his hike route. And then on the right, the location where Kenny Veach originally claimed to have come across the mysterious cave. And we can measure the distance right now, and then I can tell you the importance of this and also bring it back as for the importance of when it comes to the type of elevation. So this is just a rough marker because Kenny Veach did not explain exactly whereabout he originally found it, just that it was near to Nellis Air Force Base, and what's near to it, a hiking location, these mountains. And there are some counterpoints which I will acknowledge, but it's just important to look at the wording word for word, right? So where Kenny Veach was at the mine shaft when he did his video, which is about, round it up, 30 miles away. And then in terms of where he believed it to be, somewhere down the canyon there before Pitcher Canyon, well, basically it's 30 miles, which is crazy, is it not? 30 miles. I'll just get rid of that for a second. It is just diagonal, that's all it is. But from down here, where Kenny Veach claimed somewhere there was a hidden cave, and it was near to Nellis Air Force Base. As you see here, with the planes, it is 3D rendered as well, in case you're wondering, which is really interesting. I have done a separate video on this once before. You got the helicopters as well. So you can tell it's military, fighter jets here. Really nice. I don't know to do 3D with Area 51 too, maybe not. But nevertheless, Nellis Air Force Base, Nellis test range, bombing range over here, over Sheep Peak, facing that way. Down here, 30 miles, where the supposed covered up M cave is, an M-shaped cave is, another M-shaped cave which Jeff Clark came across on the left-hand side of the canyon. 30-mile difference. How could Kenny Veach get that so mixed up? Was he trying to pull the wool over our eyes? Did he think we were that stupid? You never know. Because at times, Kenny Veach was all over the place. Even in his house tour video, as he was walking around and he was stuttering and juttering. And then all of a sudden, there was a certain room he didn't want us to see. Let me play you the clip right now.
So this is what you see. Now, the only room I'm not going to show you is my craft room, because I have so much going on in there that some of it's secret, other parts of it a little on the messy side, but it is the only room that I allow to get a little messy. So I will show you the bathroom real quick. Oops.
All these little secrets of Kenny keeping from us in some way. Now, I said we were going to return back to a counterpoint over this way near to Nellis Air Force Base. Besides the words and the locations being mixed up between the test range and the base, and Kenny meant one thing and not the other, beside that, the argument was over here, Sunrise Frenchman Mountains, it's more of a tourist destination, just like Gas Peak. So if Kenny Veach was to be hiking over here, what's the chances? And coming across a cave so mysterious, what are the chances? Well, what I'd say firstly is, if Kenny was to come across a cave in a more of a touristy area, then the cave would have to be more hidden than if it was out in the open in a desolate area where no one passes by. Because you can have something so big and obvious in an empty place where no one passes by, they're never going to see it or pick up on it. And if it's military related, there's no need to cover it up either, because there's no worry of traffic. But if you're in a more busy, populated place where visitors, tourists pass on through, the chances of them coming across it is higher. The chances of needing to cover it up is higher. But none of that is a problem if it's already naturally hidden. And if there's any truth to what Kenny Veach said, that it was hidden, then it could be applied to a touristy area in which most people just walk by completely unaware, and yet it's tucked away somewhere deep down in a wash on the side of a mountain, in the gaps or corners. You never know, because even down here is like little gully, the way it dips down out of sight. You got the rock walls too. What's the possibilities that Kenny Veach was hiking somewhere rather unique and unusual off the beaten track? Because as much of a touristy area as places can be, you can still go off trail if you want. It might not be advised, but for someone like Kenny Veach, that's probably what he would do. So it's worth taking that into consideration. And furthermore, even if it is a touristy area and people would say Kenny Veach would never go to a place like that, how do you know? Because when you apply it back up here, Sheep Peak, when Kenny Veach was at the mine shaft down here and he was pointing up saying he hiked over that way once, besides the exaggeration of distance that he covered, which will be for a separate video, he didn't even call it Sheep Peak. He called it Gas Peak. He got it wrong. Now, if Kenny Veach has been to Gas Peak, which is further south, I don't know if it will show up on screen. There we go, Gas Peak. This is a more touristy area which receives more visitors than Little Jermay Canyon. And if Kenny Veach has been to a location like this, and there's even proof on his Facebook page he's been hiking elsewhere in forest areas, more populated places. So whilst Kenny may go off the beaten track, whilst he goes on paths which no one else does, he still goes to populated places as well. So if he does both, he could have come across the cave in either location, hidden or not. It's worth taking into mind when you look at it word for word. And furthermore, the reason why it's so important in these two different locations is if for some reason it wasn't here, but it was elsewhere, it was over this way, all these years of wasted opportunities, Now, this is not to encourage a wild goose chase. This is not to encourage people to go out of their way, risk their life, risk their time and money to come here all for nothing. It's just to suggest the alternative possibilities if there's no hope elsewhere. And referring back more importantly to the conditions and characteristics of the cave. Is it on higher elevation or lower elevation? That's another important factor as well. With Kenny Veach, the way he was describing it, it's on ground level, like about right here. So it was around this area here on the right-hand side of the rock wall, down the canyon, which Kenny Veach walked by, which had an array of shallow caves, one of which was a prominent M-shaped looking one, shallow, a keyhole cave, which Kenny wasn't aware of at the time, and then the supposed covered up M cave investigated by Sean Horlecker, 2019 onwards. And it just happened that Kenny Veach pointed it out and said, kind of like an area, just like here, on ground level. So did that solidify that's where it must be, or that's the type of location that you will find it in, on lower ground elevation? Is that what influenced majority of hikers since when heading out there to look on lower ground, just like really Robin did on flatter ground when it came to his canyon? Even he briefly referenced or quoted Kenny Veach. I don't know if I'm not the correct canyon, but this is just a quick one on the spot. Said on ground level, not high up on the side of mountains. And yet, we have seen the contradictions clearly, or more so I have. Now, Jeff Clark was able to pick up the contradictions himself in the past, and that's probably why Jeff Clark is and was the only one to come across adjacent on the other side, around this area, on higher elevation, an M-shaped cave, which looked like it was collapsed, may have been open accessible at one point. Was it on lower elevation? No. Was it on ground level? No. Was it on the side of a mountain, as Kenny describes? Absolutely. And when you look at a description of it online and you look at majority of photos, like a cave, they will show it so far or right at the top of the side of a mountain and not at the base or the bottom. Unless you specifically type in cave at the base of a mountain top on ground level, then you'll get different search results. So for Kenny, is it higher elevation or lower elevation? One or the other, Kenny doesn't make it clear. But as for most hikers, they've chosen lower ground elevation, which sometimes can lead to tunnel vision and overall missing out on other opportunities and possibilities. With, granted, acknowledgement, there have been hikers that have gone on higher terrain since on and off. Scott Natal, SB Vegas, Jay Chuck. So they've had those opportunities to look for something, but still, it was Jeff Clark that was the first and really the only to come across an M-shaped cave on the side of a mountain slightly higher up. So what other mysteries are out there? And overall, what location is it really at? How true is Kenny to us, the viewer? Hopefully you found this video somewhat interesting. Be sure to hit the like button, share the video, that'll be much appreciated to get that awareness out there. And if you're on mobile device and able, in the comment section, if you swipe across the comments, somewhere there should be a hype button. If you click the hype button, it will push the video out there so more people get to learn about the Contradictions by Kenny Veach. Because as important as his disappearance is and the cave, it also links to the importance of how he describes it, how he worded it in the first place. Because if he meant something else, that's where you may be able to find him, or where you might be able to find the cave. So I'll see you next time. We'll leave it there for now. Who knows what happens next? But some new ideas have generated and some new videos too. My name's Warlike Raf. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night for now.